talent is great, but attitude, energy, and action is what it's all about. Talk a little bit about your relationship to action and how that's what you feel your superpower and what you bring to the table.
Yeah, I think that a great motivational speaker in Roger Crawford, I'm sure you probably
I
come
know him
across him.
well. Played at
He
Loyola Marymount or Pepperdine. Where did
yeah,
he play? Yeah,
yeah. I'm not
yeah.
sure, but he said to me a long time ago, talent is not nearly as important as execution. And that is what my parents instilled in me from a very young age. And so I turn your motivation into activation. So I'm not a motivational speaker, I'm an activation speaker. So everything I do has a practical action. I never leave an audience without asking them to take action, whether it be in the next 24 hours for yourself, the next 7 days for someone in your team, or in the next 30 days for someone within your community. Now, the reason this is so important, and I'll give you another practical action tip right now. This is one of my tool belts. I've got coaching toolkits, right? My laminated toolkit. This workshop's called Leader as Coach. Now, here, one of the tools is encouraging people to play above the line, not below the line. So, for example, as a leader or manager or coach, if we ask a why question, why did you do that? Or in the tennis context, why did you miss that ball? Often they'll make excuses, they'll get frustrated, they'll blame somebody, they'll cause more problems and more negativity. That's called playing below the line. If I ask a what question or next time question or what options could you do if you had that same ball again in the tennis scenario, of course, someone's going to choose to play above the line, take responsibility, be accountable, make choices, see possibilities of curiosity. So you can only do that if you encourage people to take action in terms of what it is that they need to change, address, where do they want to make improvements in their life and in the workplace. So I know no other. And again, my parents basically said, I saved up all my money and said, hey, I'm going to Florida to learn from the best coaches in the world when I was 23 years of age. And they said, well, don't come home unless you run out of money or you're in jail, right? So it was like, okay, we'll take action, like sink or swim. Now, I definitely find that when I work with people these days, it's more about stretching your comfort zone one layer at a time. There's only about 5% of the population can sort of jump out of their comfort zone and swim. Most people, that's too much. So I always say the 1% principle, and that works really well, crosses over nicely from sport into the workplace. Just take action on one
Yeah.
thing to get better in the area that you want to go.
It's like when the word transformation is used a lot, especially in speaking and activation, motivation, inspiration, even, a little bit more topic specific, that we're going to transform with this technology, or this is going to transform education or healthcare. It sounds sexier. It sounds flashier. And people are like, okay, Monday morning, no more chocolate cake, and I'm going to lose this much weight or whatever, right? And I'm going to transform myself. And there's a lot of constraints put on. But really, what you're pointing to is this 1% incremental. I mean, James Clear talks about it in Atomic Habits. And it's like either starve a habit till it disappears. But one little thing that you do that has an exponential impact over time. Is that kind of what you're pointing to?
100%. Now, some people can, of course, take that big leap, but most people, to be successful, it's the daily, it's the habitual, small incremental changes that make the biggest difference. And it starts definitely with performance. I always re-engineer and focus on behavior first, because that then supports the mindset. Because when we get better at something, then we enjoy it more. And when we enjoy it more, our mindset is strong. So just changing a behavior by 1% then re-engineers the mindset that goes along with that. So you can kind of hack the mindset, which I love. Most people try and change the mindset, but as we know, like New Year's Eve resolutions, of course, it doesn't last.
Yeah, they're not sustainable. And I think that in Spanish, there's a great phrase, trabajo de hormiga, the work of an ant. You see these ants go by, they're just going by. They got like a little branch like a mini branch. And then all of a sudden, a week later, you turn the corner and there's the anthill. But it took thousands of ants each of them carrying one little thing all day long. And that's, I think, what you're pointing to. The mindset and that hack is fascinating. It reminds me of a friend in common. We have Jeff Salzenstein, who has also been an honored guest on this podcast. He shared with me, he was at the US Open, Arthur Ashe Stadium. His hero McEnroe is commentating, and he draws Chang. And his whole mindset was, I just want you to speak to how powerful words are and how powerful neurolinguistic programming is. I don't want to embarrass myself. That was it. That was what he said to himself. An elite top 100 performer in tennis profession that made it to the main draw of the US Open. And he beat him in the first set, 6-4, or maybe 6-2. And then he lost 3 straight sets. But he didn't embarrass himself. And that was it. And just share the lesson that we can draw from that.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Jeff. And I played Division I college tennis, and I didn't play on the pro tour, but I've coached many people in similar scenarios. And the first thing I want to say to everyone listening is that we all have those thoughts. So that's number one. Doubts, fears, imposter syndrome, everybody has it, even the best players in the world. So one thing that 100% comes to mind, and one of the quickest, best tips I can share, is that when that comes up, most people try and push a negative thought away, or most people try and push through it. Now, the best thing you can do is actually breathe into it and accept it, and accept that it's there rather than trying to push it away. And that's a really important mindset, again, a mindset hack. So accept it. The quicker you can accept it, the better. Self-awareness. Be self-aware. Breathe into the pain, for example, or the discomfort, and then return to the present, execute and deliver. Now, when I say return to the present, a lot of people say that's not realistic. You can't just be positive when you're feeling the pain. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, for example, the more you can be still in the moment, I am ready, I belong here, I am present, I am right here, right now, then you'll be able to be in that moment and be able to absorb those things that come at you, because they'll come at you when you least expect it. They'll come at you from all different angles, not just self-imposed anxiety or fear, but from managers, from leaders, from coaches, from bosses, etc., and parents.
You see it all the time. A lot of our viewers, Coach M, are from the meeting profession. I mean, we also have small business owners, and this is, again, a reminder. Please subscribe and share. We're bringing these great, really rich conversations that we're having with Coach M